The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
It's better than indoor plumbing. It's better than electricity. It's better than the thermos bottle. That's right. It's the 2017 Matt Talk Online Digital Fan Guide Division I preview, simply calling it the guide. Over 200 pages digitally delivered to you March 14th. Pre-sale. Pre-orders available now, matttalkonline.com/fanguide17. Listening to this show, you will get $5 off if you use the offer code PODCAST. That's PODCAST. Offer code when you buy it at matttalkonline.com/fanguide17. Over 200 pages of facts, stats, history. Every single wrestler competing in St. Louis, every single score all season long. History, 4-time All-Americans, 3-time national champions. Who's got the most All-Americans all time? Which coach has the most titles? How do they rank top 10? Everything in this guide, digitally delivered, optimized for your tablet and iPad, but it works just fine on your computer. And if you feel like going to Kinko's, you can print it out. It's going to be a lot of paper. But anyway, retailing at $19.99. You listen to this show, and any show on the Matt Talk Podcast Network with regularity, use the promo code, I'm going to say it really lightly now, podcast. Yep, use podcast. That way I know you're listening. You'll save $5. It is worth it. ESPN loves it. You've heard my sound bites on other shows about how much Adam Amin used this thing when he was with ESPN. I'm going to stop belaboring the point right now, and we'll get to our show. But matttalkonline.com/fanguide17, the guide. This thing, the most unbelievable Division I preview guide ever assembled, and it just keeps getting better every year. You'll want it for your fantasy contests. You'll want it for your knowledge bombs. You'll want it sitting there in the arena going, okay, hey, who's this guy? Boom, there he goes. Also got tweet your direct social media stuff right to it. It's an interactive guide. You'll be able to pop up a podcast that's related to who's going on and what's going on. You'll want to get this. matttalkonline.com/fanguide17, promo code podcast. Save yourself $5. You will not regret it.
It's time to go on the mat. The Cedar Valley's longest-running radio show devoted entirely to wrestling. Brought to you by Rolling Ford and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum on 1650 The Fan.
Welcome to On the Mat. I am Kyle Klingman of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum, along with a man who knows no problems with his kidneys, Doug Van Gelder. Welcome, big boy.
Well, pretty soon we're going to be on the road again.
I know.
On the way to another national tournament.
See,
how many years is that then, Kyle?
1995 until now. And it's just been consistent with me and you every single year. We've talked about this, how it's gone in and out.
Lost one of my boys a couple times.
Yeah, a couple
different
times
boys,
in there,
different years. But
me and you every time. Yeah, 23. We got the mathematician. 23 years in a row, Doug. I don't know how that can even happen, to be 23 in a row. But you got me started early. That's the key.
Yeah.
I was 18 years old when you got me started in 95. And we were sleeping in Iowa City, and we didn't realize that the hotel you guys got was virtually half a mile away from Carver, and so your son Seth was taking us all the way around the long way, and then on the final day we finally figured out we could walk over there. It was so close. But that's the way it goes. Those are the memories, and people sleeping on chairs, and it was just it was quite an ordeal. And here we are, 2017, and we get another crack at this, and we haven't even been on the airwaves for a while. Scott kicked us out of the studio. He said, we don't want you here. Get out. Basketball is more important than wrestling.
No, that's not quite the case.
Well, but basketball was on last week, right, Scott? I think, yeah. Am I right about that?
Girls basketball.
Yeah, Cedar Falls Tiger girls.
And they deserve it. Hey, that's a big deal to be able to make it to the state finals.
Made it all the way to the finals, yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations on that run. I think the last time was 2001. So congratulations to them. And we have everything to talk about. And we don't have enough time to do it.
So much changes so fast.
I know, it's crazy. And we got to make sure we plug the guests right off the bat, because it's rare that you get a UNI flavor, an Iowa State flavor, and an Iowa flavor with all of our guests. And we're going to talk about why that is, because I hope people know about what's going on this weekend, Saturday at 6 o'clock, University of Northern Iowa at West Gym. It's the War at the West Gym. There's going to be 12 high school matches, followed by a professional match between Blaze Cabell of the Panther Wrestling Club, who happens to be from Independence, Iowa, going against Kyven Gadson of the Cyclone Wrestling Club, who happens to be from Waterloo, Iowa, went to Waterloo East. That's the featured match. I hope people know about this, and we're going to plug this like crazy. We have Kyven Gadson on the program to talk about this match and him coming back to his hometown area and wrestling in this great event at the West Gym. It's called War at the West Gym, Saturday, March 11th at 6 p.m. You can get tickets in advance if you want to order online. If you type in NWHOF at the iawrestle.com site, so iawrestle.com, you can order tickets, or it's $10 cash only at the door. Doug, I hope you can make it.
Now, we're going to be
West Gym.
at the West Gym.
West Gym on the campus of Northern Iowa.
I'll have to get there early and see if I can get my spot.
Yeah, you better get there. I think this should be a full house because there's local flavor. There's Gable Fox from Don Bosco.
Is it kind of an all-star meet?
Kinda, yeah. Kind of a all-star meet. Austin Yant from Waverly Shell Rock. And then, of course, the professional match, which I'm excited about, between Blaze Cabell and Kyven Gadson. So we get to talk to Kyven on the show about his participation in this. And then we have the new Iowa State head wrestling coach, Kevin Dresser, will be on the final segment. He was at Virginia Tech. We've had him on the show before.
Iowa grad.
So there's the Iowa connection. Won NCAA tournament in 1986. He's part of that great team with Brad Penrith and
Sounds
and
like
others.
he wants to come back and wreak havoc on his old Hawks.
I know he does. I think I don't think there's any question about it. And
Didn't draw any punches back, I'll tell you that.
well, he's. I think he's going to do great things. For me, when I found out that this was happening, it's the hire that got me the most excited about Iowa State wrestling. If you could have said,
Yeah, we had our discussion about where it's going. He
Yeah.
never came up with my thoughts.
you didn't, he did for me. I certainly thought he was a guy that would be a great fit there. So when they announced that Kevin Dresser was going to be the head coach, like I said, if you picked any hire and said, hey, what's the one that's going to get you the most excited, Kevin Dresser would have been my number one pick. And so I'm very, very glad that he's going to be taking the reins because he's proven he can be competitive with Iowa. Now, does that necessarily always translate? Just because you did it at Virginia Tech, come to Iowa State, it's a different animal because he had all that area to recruit Virginia, and you have a different dynamic. Now you're in the state of Iowa, you're second fiddle to the University of Iowa. It's a different recruiting dynamic, and you can ask Mark Cody about that. Hey, he got 5th place at American University and went to Oklahoma. It didn't really translate as well. But I think with Kevin Dresser being from Humboldt, Iowa, just growing up down the road from Ames, Iowa, grew up an Iowa State fan, I think there's so many things that factor into this, and he knows how to win.
Time will tell.
Yeah, but
Iowa State had a poor tournament.
What, the Big 12s?
Yeah.
Man, it's not fun to watch.
No. I think those kids just said, that's enough.
Yeah, they might be checked out a little bit. And Marcus Harrington from Waterloo West, was the lone automatic qualifier. But let's talk about two dominating performances. Let's start with the Big 12s with Oklahoma State.
All finals.
All finals. And they win 8 of 10 at the Big 12s. All finals, win 8 of 10. That's not an error. And so they had a little stat. This is all you need to know. You don't need to know team points. If it would have been a dual meet against the Big 12, so this is the combining all of the Big 12's best, it would have been 30-6.
Yeah.
That's what the dual meet score would have been. Oklahoma State won it by. Now is it the Big 12 of old where Iowa State was a power and Oklahoma and Missouri was in there? Nebraska was in there. No, it's not. It's not that. Even with 4 or 5
It's got a long
teams.
ways to go to get back to those glory days.
It does.
That's
but
just so dominating.
it is unreal because South Dakota State is good this year. Oklahoma's all right. I mean, there's at least a little bit of power change in there and some teams that could have been competitive. And Seth Gross did a nice job winning at 133. But my goodness, Oklahoma State, that is incredible to be able to do that. So all-time point record at the Big 12s. And part of the reason they got that, Doug, is because there are more teams and you have more opportunities to score.
Sure.
But regardless, you send win 8 and send all 10 to the finals. That's the only team I can remember doing that for a conference is Wartburg a few times, where it would just be Wartburg against the rest of the conference. And Wartburg is coming up this weekend. So a lot going on. Other dominating performance. I pulled this up.
Ohio State.
No.
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to stop. We can't go there yet. That's not dominating. That's an impressive performance, but that's not dominating. Don't get ahead of yourself. Grandview. Do you even know what they did? Did you even follow this, Doug?
I didn't hear anything about them. Nope.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now because this is hard to even just spew out these numbers. Grandview set the all-time point record, most points scored ever at the NAIA. Of course, you can send 12 to the national tournament, 234.5 points. You want to know what second place was?
Under 100.
Lindsey Wilson, 74.5 points.
Largest margin of victory.
Largest margin of victory in history, 160 points. 5 national champions, ties the record for second most in the program history. The other was Grandview. Scored more than the second, third, and fourth place teams combined. 6 straight national title. The only program in NAIA history in the 4th in all divisions to accomplish this. So he's now tied with Harold Nichols in the state of Iowa for the most national team championships. Grandview, my goodness, my hat's off to you. Those numbers are mind-boggling. And Nick Mitchell is a product of Wartburg College, just up the road. He was
Jim Miller.
He was under Jim Miller. What they're doing there, I would say they're either the second or the third or fourth best team in the state right now.
You know, you start hearing this about Grandview. How long before there's some other schools that are going to pick that up and get into that fray? I hope that's what happens. That would be the real upshot, is to have a couple more schools from Iowa get into that NAIA and really give it a go like Grandview has.
Well, okay, so let's throw this in the mix. What if Grandview bumps up to Division II at some point? I don't know if that's in their thinking, but hey, we only have one Division II program right now with Upper Iowa. Mm-hmm. So what if Grandview goes up there and then we pick up another title Division II and do it the same year?
I'm not certain why they were in NAIA to begin with, but I like it.
Well, so do I. I mean, the numbers are staggering. And let's go back to the complete history.
How many other schools in Iowa have it right now?
What?
NAIA.
Oh, there's a lot. Northwestern, William Penn.
Central?
No, Central's Division
Iowa
3. Yeah, that's the Iowa Conference. There's a bunch.
Morningside?
Morningside does. The one in Lake Mills. Iowa has it. Waldorf, they have a men's and women's.
Forest City.
Yeah, Forest City, not Lake Mills. But yeah, there's quite a few. I'd have to go through the list, and we've had a few on the program, and the one where Bruce Jenner went to college.
When's his first book coming out? I want to read how he did it.
Well, it needs to come out. It needs to come out.
Why don't you ghostwrite it for him, Kyle?
Well, his accomplishments aren't done yet.
I know.
The legacy's still going.
But somebody, give somebody some insight so they can go out and start pushing him a little, so he got to work even harder.
Well, it's impressive nonetheless.
It is impressive.
Just the highlights here. Grandview, 6th NAIA championship in the road, 234.5 points, won by 160 points over Lindsey Wilson, who had 74.5 points. My congratulations to Grandview, just a dominating performance. That's truly incredible, and it's the 62nd now national team championship for the state of Iowa. Iowa Central won the junior college portion. I'm predicting that Wartburg's going to win Division III, so this will be the third time in our state's history. If Wartburg wins, and I know you don't want to jump ahead of yourself because so many things can happen, but if they do, it'd be 63 team titles for the state of Iowa. And it would be the third time that we've won 3 championships all in the same season.
Not one of them's a women's championship.
You got to talk a little closer there, Doug.
Not one of them is a women's championship.
Right. We have one program that's a women's program, Doug. And so it's coming. We've got to get up there, but at that pace, I'm trying to think. If we average one a year, okay, so you get some that are 3, some that are 0, some that are 2. If we average one a year, are you going to be able to live another 37 years and get to 100?
Yes. I've already check that out.
Planned it. How old will you be?
111.
You'd be 111?
No, not quite that.
Well, you're how old now?
I'm 67.
You're 67 plus 37. Man, you got to hang in for this, Doug. You got to hang in for number 100. Or we just got to really convince Grandview and Wartburg to keep going.
So we get 2 a year.
Yeah, so you can get average 2 a year and tell Iowa Central to get in there, and we'll tell Kevin Dresser to pick one up for Iowa State. See if they can really expedite that process for you so you can see number 100. All right, now we're going to get to what you wanted to talk to, Ohio State. Did you watch the finals?
Yeah, I watched the finals.
Okay, your take.
Ohio State was ready. Here again, injuries came in, made a big difference. Penn State could have been pushing them all the way, but was it, 133? Their man was injured?
125, Nick Suriano.
Yeah.
Yep. And so does that make a difference? Of course it does.
Absolutely.
It absolutely made the difference. Cause
he was going to make it to the championship round.
I think
you can
so.
almost bet on it.
Yeah. I
would have been able to score enough points to make a difference.
Negate that, yeah. I absolutely do. But
four Big Ten champions
for Ohio State. Yeah, regardless, they had an unbelievable tournament. So in zero way would I take away from what Ohio State did at that Big Ten championships.
They were ready.
Because they wrestled lights out. Miles Martin makes it to the finals. Yeah, I mean.
At 197?
That guy's
Who does
awesome.
that remind you of?
You tell me.
Jaden Cox, wasn't he a true freshman?
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant as far as style.
Oh.
Okay. Colin Moore at 197. Love that guy. I think he is a guy that could make it to the finals at 197. I absolutely do.
And I have to wonder if Sanderson may still be regretting turning Mark Hall out of his red shirt.
Well, if they're going to win it this year, they had to do it, given what Suriano being injured. I think they absolutely needed him in the lineup if they're going to win it this year. Mark Hall isn't in the lineup. I don't know how they win it this year. I really don't. Penn State. And I'm still picking Penn State. I would have said before Ohio State won it, I would have said 80% chance for Penn State. I'm probably going down to 60 right now. I really do think that Ohio State has an opportunity along with Oklahoma State. I think they can be in it too. But Oklahoma State has those 10 qualifiers, of course, and so they can do a lot of damage in that they have a little bit more room for error, but not much, because they don't have that guy that's a lock for the finals. In no way do they do. In no way is Dean Heil a lock for the NCAA tournament finals. No way is he a lock. Whereas I'm saying that Nolf, 157, and Rutherford, they're locks to win it. I just think they're going to win it. I don't know who's going to be competitive with those guys.
See, I thought I remember thinking the same thing about Bo Nickel.
Being a lock to win?
Last year.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean,
he moved up a weight this year, and that's not going as he planned, I don't think.
Well, I mean, he had one loss against a guy that can give him some troubles. Miles Martin has shown that he can beat Bo Nickel now, not consistently, but in big-time matches he sure can. But
he's the one that beat him in the semifinals, right?
Correct, yeah. And then he also beat him last year at the NCAA tournament finals. Miles Martin did, after giving up some big wins throughout the season. So he's like 2-5 against Bo Nickel now, and it's all because he's able to come up with some big wins when it counts. But if there's a guy that I'm most excited to watch, it's Bo Nickel.
Yeah, I love watching that guy wrestle.
Yeah.
Love
it.
That funk style again, I love that, and I just would hope that that's what we would get to see. But
yeah,
they kept trying to angle the camera during the championship match to pick up his his mat over there. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun watching those finals, and I think that hats off to Sammy Brooks at 184.
Amen. That was a good one.
He was in the toughest weight class, and he looked fantastic in the finals against Miles Martin. Just looked really good.
So in charge.
Yeah, and if he wrestles like that, he can make it to the finals. And when you get to the finals, funny things happen. Gabe Dean looks almost unstoppable this year. He's looking for his third NCAA championship. But strange things can happen. And Iowa is a program that can do those things because they're always ready, and they have guys that believe they can do it. And if Lincoln McElravy can go down in 1995 to Steve Marianetti, I don't see why Sammy Brooks can't make a run.
Yep.
Now, seeding is going to play a factor into that, Doug, because if Nickel and Brooks are on the same side and they meet in the semis, I'm still picking Nickel. I think that's a bad matchup for Sammy Brooks. But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. This segment's blown by. We got to make sure we get you on the record on who you think's going to win the NCAA tournament. Who are you picking?
I stayed with Penn State also.
Okay.
But that's going to, it's just made it that much closer to call.
Yeah.
When they lost their 25-pounder.
Yeah, it's and I think Suriano is going to try to compete at the Nationals, get that at-large bid, but I wasn't there, but I think because he had to go and actually show that he was going to compete, so he injury defaulted out those 2 matches. I guess he was limping out every single match, so it's going to be tough for him to even win one match at the NCAA tournament. So we'll see how that goes.
Peters did all right, though.
He did. Hey, we got to close out this segment. We have Kyven Gadson, 2015 NCAA champion, next on the mat.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When all you want is sports, all you need is 1650 The Fan.
We are back on the mat, 1650 The Fan. I am Kyle Klingman of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum, along with Doug Van Gelder. This will be our 23rd year in a row we go to the NCAA Wrestling Championships, and 2 years ago we saw one of the best NCAA Championship finals we'll ever see. It absolutely moved me. It was one of the most emotional wins that I've ever been a part of when Kyven Gadson got a pin in the finals at 197 pounds of the 2015 NCAA Wrestling Tournament.
And immediately looks for ice cream. What a hero.
Yeah, what a great guy. He's also a 2-time state wrestling champion from Waterloo East. He's going to be coming back to Cedar Falls, Iowa for a special dual meet. We're going to talk about that with Kyven Gadson. He's on the line with us. How are you, Kyven?
I'm doing well, Kyle. How are you doing?
Hey, we're doing good. We're excited. We're excited that we get a chance to watch you compete this weekend, and then that moves right into the NCAA Wrestling Tournament. All of that being said, let's go back to that NCAA Championship that you had in 2015. How many times have you watched that finals match?
I think I've probably watched that finals match maybe 5 or 6 times.
That's
it?
it?
Just, watch the whole thing, probably 5 or 6 times. I've seen clips of it for various reasons, but, just sit there and watching it probably 5 or 6 times.
Does it ever get old?
Yeah, because I gotta go do it again. I gotta go do it again to accomplish my new set out goals, which is to be a world champion and to be an Olympic chef. So.
Well, I can remember Kevin Jackson saying that, hey, that was the season you really locked in. You got rid of Twitter and Facebook, and you were completely focused. Where are you on that continuum? Where are you on that line of being that focused for international wrestling?
I actually just logged off all my social media accounts just this past weekend. So I'm looking forward to having that crisp sense of focus and just that patience and just kind of that mindset where it's just go out and give it everything you got and let the chips land, where they may be.
What's your training environment look like right now? Are you at Iowa State training? Are you on your own? Do you have a day-to-day coach? How is that going with Kevin taking a new role at Iowa State?
Well, I actually just spent a week out in Arizona at Arizona State with Zeke Jones and Chris Pendleton and Lee Pritz. Lee Pritz was one of my dad's former wrestlers at Eastern Michigan. So right now, just training with Don Bradley. We got a workout in this morning. I'll go back in this afternoon and get another one in. In between time, I'm doing some schoolwork so I can finish up my master's. So this year has been, I guess, kind of hectic in different ways, but it's part of life. So,
what is that, about 5 weeks till the World Team Trials?
Yep, 5 weeks.
Out in Lincoln?
April 29th. Oh, no, the World Team Trials are June 9th and 10th. So I think we're about 93 days out.
So leading up to that, that's the ultimate to make the world team. I mean, what is the difference between being a college athlete going for the NCAA championship and having competition every week, and then it is a little bit more of a freestyle that you have right now, and maybe not competitions all the time. How do you adjust your training for that?
Well, the training is much more, I think, strategically focused. You have your peaks and your valleys, kind of your grind times and your times where you have to, technically work to get superior in those areas. So it's interesting. It's a lot different than college.
We are on the mat with Kyven Gadson, 2015 NCAA wrestling champion for Iowa State, two-time state wrestling champion for Waterloo East. He is an aspiring Olympian, tried out in 2016, but we get a chance to watch Kyven at the West Gym. We're at the West Gym this Saturday, March 11th. It starts at 6 p.m. with high school matches, and then the marquee match is going to be Kyven Gadson, who we have on the program now, against Blaze Cabell. So it's Cyclone Wrestling Club against Panther Wrestling Club. Kyven, I love this concept. I think we need to do more of this and promote you guys and really put you on a pedestal and showcase you guys. How did this come about that you got this opportunity to wrestle in a really unique environment?
Well, I just kind of reached out to Tony Hager and was like, hey, if you have anything, I think with conflict and carve, I was like, if you have anybody I could wrestle, there, just let me know. And he's like, do you want to wrestle Blaze Cabell? And I was like, I was heading to Dagestan for an international tournament, so I wasn't able to do that. And then with the War in West Gym just kind of popping up, I reached out and was like, hey, if there's an opportunity to wrestle, that'd be great. And Blaze was all for it, and I was for it. So I think we're both very close to our home. Blaze is probably about 35 minutes from home, and I'm right down the street. I grew up, and my mom still lives right down the street from you and I. So it was just an awesome opportunity to kind of be home and wrestle in front of my friends and family.
Do you guys know each other pretty well, you and Blaze?
Yeah, we've actually spent some time training together. Whenever I kind of come home and I need to get a workout in, I'll just hit up Blaze, and we'll go in and get a workout. So it's I think it's beneficial for both of us, that we have an opportunity to just wrestle and kind of showcase our skills in front of our friends and family.
How do you view competition? When you get on the mat, is it a hatred for your opponent, or is it more just trying to execute and doing the best you can? I know there's a continuum. If you take the Brands brothers, they despise their opponents. How do you view your competition?
It's just for me, it's just more about me. It's about what I can do. It's not about I think a hate or a hateful spirit or a spirit where you want to go out there and injure somebody or hurt someone. It's just about me executing my positions, and I'm looking to dominate in every way possible, and I don't think I have to hate somebody to do that.
We're on the line with Kyven Gadson, 2015 NCAA wrestling champion. He is going to be competing at the War at West Gym this Saturday, March 11th. You can get tickets at the door for $10, or you can stop by the Gable Museum. We have them for a reduced rate of $6. And with you being part of the Waterloo community, going against someone who's been part of the Cedar Falls community, I hope people will come out in droves and watch this great marquee matchup. For you personally, do you feel like there's going to be a good crowd? Do you have a good family contingent and friends that are planning on being there and watching you compete?
Yeah, there's people coming up from Ames to watch. There's also people that are already in Waterloo that are planning on coming. I think my kids club, the one that I grew up in, the Future Trojans kids club, is planning on bringing some kids out. So I think that would be really cool for them also to see me wrestling in that capacity, knowing that maybe when they get older, they'll have the opportunity to wrestle at Division I level schools, and then even further on when they're looking to probably become Olympic and world champions also themselves.
How's your weight? You getting close?
We're wrestling at a catch weight, I think, of 225, so I'll be fine.
Okay. So what do you want to walk around, especially getting down to the trials in the U.S. Open? Do you want to be around 225? Is that your normal weight you want to be?
Yep, I want to be around 225 to 227. Somewhere in there. Okay. So it'd be a nice, simple cut, and you're just feeling good, happy, strong, quick, all those things. So.
Does that weight include ice cream?
Not as much. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Not as much. That's for sure.
Well, you had that famous line, "I just want some ice cream," and it really did go viral. It was a great moment for wrestling, and it really caught the national sports media's eye. A couple years later, that was 2 years ago, what's the residual effect on that? Are people still talking to you about that, or is it worn off a little bit?
Yeah, every once in a while you have a kid come and ask you, what's it like, or did you get your ice cream? And then also at the same time, I'm actually I have an agreement with one of my friends from high school. She's a teacher now, and if her kids in her classroom, one of them's a really big wrestler, if he accomplishes some goals that he set out for himself, he wins basically an ice cream party for his whole class with me being present. So it's things like that that make me smile, just an opportunity to give back and not just push wrestling, but push education, to this young wrestler, this kid, that wants to, be a great wrestler someday. Letting them know that it's not just about wrestling, it's about education and life also.
Well, you won it 2 years ago, almost to the day. The NCAA tournament's coming up, so 2 years ago. And in fact, how long does the buzz and the allure of being an NCAA champion last? I don't know if people are still talking about it or if it's still a big deal to people. It is to me, and I think it's a great accomplishment. You'll always be one. But from your vantage point, how long does that last? How long do you stay relevant just being an NCAA champion?
I'm not sure. You have to ask everybody else how long I'll stay relevant. But my goal isn't really about being, I guess, relevant in that sense. It's about just continuing to chop away at the goals that I set for myself now, which now it's to make a world team on June 9th or 10th and then win a world title in August. So that's my goal is, just like every year, was to come back to be a Big 12 champion, then to be a national champion. Sometimes you fall short of them, so you make adjustments, you critique yourself, and then you move forward in the mindset that you're going to accomplish it one way or another.
All right, critique yourself right now on the international scene. Where do you have to improve?
If I had to critique myself right now on the international scene, where do I have to improve? I think the biggest thing for me is working to become more freestyle aware. I think I kind of locked myself into becoming folk style aware and having a great folk style IQ when it came to my wrestling abilities. And I think relearning myself, the freestyle abilities will go far for me.
We are on the mat with Kyven Gadson. He's going to wrestle in the featured match this Saturday, March 11th, War at West Gym. That means the West Gym on the campus of the University of Northern Iowa. It's sponsored by IA Wrestle. There's going to be a slew of great high school matches, all-star matches, and then the professional match, Blaze Cabell of the Panther Wrestling Club going against Kyven Gadson of the Cyclone Wrestling Club. Stop by the Gable Museum if you want $6 tickets, or you can buy them for $10 at the door, cash only. We're on the line with Kyven Gadson, and the NCAA tournament's coming up. Another Waterloo connection that we had with Marcus Harrington qualifying for the NCAA wrestling tournament. He was the only automatic qualifier for Iowa State. Where is he right now mentally to do something at the NCAA wrestling tournament?
I think Marcus is happy but not satisfied. That's what I'd like to think. I think it was kind of a relief for him, kind of qualifying with the automatic bid, and I think that was important for him. I think with maybe the stresses of maybe feeling he had to fill in the shoes of the history of, I would say having great 197-pounders and things like that, and then possibly the Waterloo connection with myself and him. I think that might have been stressful for him, and I think he's kind of working his way out of that into his own man, which I think is going to be really important for him next week at the NCAA Championships.
You are part of the Cyclone Wrestling Club right now, and of course there's a new hire with Kevin Dresser. Are you planning on staying with Cyclone Nation? Or are you going to move elsewhere? What are your plans in the foreseeable future?
My plans right now are just to gather as much information as I can about kind of what's going to happen here. I know obviously that Coach Dresser is going to be the new head coach. And like I said, I was out in Arizona at Arizona State training, so I'm just kind of gathering information and looking to see, what opportunities present themselves, because I want to be a world and Olympic champ, and I have to find the best place that I can do that, as well as provide for my family. So,
Have you had a conversation with Kevin yet, Dresser?
I haven't got to sit down with him. We've exchanged a few texts and some calls, but like I said, I haven't got to sit down with him and really chop it up. But I think, like I said, I'll be done with my master's degree in May, and so, maybe I can take on the world or take it over.
Well, Kevin Jackson, who you have a great relationship with. Are you still kind of utilizing him as a coach and leaning on him for advice and coaching advice?
Yeah, I always lean on my coach. Kevin Jackson was a big reason why I came to Iowa State. Although I wanted to wrestle Iowa State my whole life, I think when I hired him, I just felt like that was going to be the best fit for me as a young man and as a wrestler growing into his own shoes. And so I always use Coach Jackson and his family as a resource because they'll always be my family. So
I want to make sure we push this before we end this segment with Kyven Gadson. Kyven is on the line with us. He's going to be the featured match this Saturday, March 11th. War at West Gym. West Gym is on the campus of the University of Northern Iowa. Featured match against Blaze Cabell, Cyclone Wrestling Club against Panther Wrestling Club. Tickets are $10 at the door. You can get them in advance for $6 at the Gable Museum. You don't want to miss this. This is a great opportunity to see two hometown guys that are doing great things on the international level, competing at the same weight class, and we get a chance to see them compete in the professional match this Saturday, March 11th. Kyven, as we look toward what you want to accomplish, I know you want to be a world and Olympic champion, but we talked about where you need to improve and just becoming more freestyle savvy. Is freestyle a style that you're liking a little bit more than folk style? Is it something that you think this is a better fit for you?
I think in my mind, anything I put my mind to is going to fit. But I always enjoyed freestyle more in high school. It was just like a relaxed, more fun, just game time feel to it. And so I always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed freestyle in the summers and in the springs and things like that. So I'm excited about my potential and my capabilities as freestyle wrestler now. I'm just putting the work in to not just have that potential, but to reach it and maybe surpass it. So.
Now, did you ever consider going to Northern Iowa out of high school, or was it always Iowa State?
I'm pretty sure it was always Iowa State. Just growing up, I think in 2004 in Iowa City. That's when I lived in Iowa City, right when we moved. I think maybe that was right after we moved, but I think I went to that dual meet and told my dad I wanted to wrestle at Iowa State just like he did. So watching that dual meet and watching Iowa State win, which is the last time Iowa State's got a win, in Carver in that dual meet series was awesome, and so I wanted to be part of that. And although I didn't accomplish that from a team perspective, I'm hoping with Coach Dresser at the helm that Iowa State wrestling will be able to restore itself.
All right, we'll close with this. Where would your dad be sitting at the West Gym if you were competing in this and he were able to watch you?
I definitely think he'd be sitting in my corner.
Would he?
For sure.
He wouldn't just be a fan over there, just yelling stuff. He'd be in the corner with you, huh?
I don't know if dads never really be fans, especially coaching dads.
Yeah.
So he'd definitely be in my corner.
Well, we're excited. War at the West Gym this Saturday, March 11th. Be sure you get there. It's going to be a fantastic opportunity to see Showtime, Kyven Gadson, wrestle another time on his way to getting an Olympic gold medal. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Kyle. You take care.
All right, appreciate that. Up next, we have the new Iowa State head wrestling coach. Can't wait to talk with Kevin Dresser. He's next on The Mat.
Log on and listen online at 1650thefan.com, the online home of 1650 The Fan.
We are back on The Mat, 1650 The Fan. I'm Kyle Klingman of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum, along with Doug Van Gelder, our final guest. He was an NCAA wrestling champion for the University of Iowa in 1986. Came off being the head wrestling coach at Virginia Tech. Got a trophy last year, 4th place at the NCAA tournament. Now he's going to turn his focus to Iowa State University. He's the new head wrestling coach at Iowa State. Kevin Dresser is with us. How are you, Kevin?
Good. Thanks for having me, Kyle.
Hey, and we're getting right off the bat. We got to go right into the story. How Gable recruited you, came to your house in Humboldt, Iowa, and how he got you there. I'm going to lead in with that. You go from there.
Well, there's a lot of details there. And first off, my disclaimer is that the NCAA rules were a lot different then. So what the story of Coach Gable signing me was legal then, but illegal now. So I want to make sure I cover him in the NCAA's eyes. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations
Right.
back in 1981, but
Yeah.
I got it covered. And the second thing is I got to make sure that his wife blesses this story. But Iowa started recruiting me my junior year, and back then you signed in the spring and April. There was no early signing date. So obviously I was very interested in Iowa and took some visits. But after all my visits were over, Coach Gable and his wife came to visit me at my home, and they came, I think, on a Sunday or a Monday evening, and so I'm sure he was on the road, but they got there kind of late, so he asked, or my parents offered, I can't remember, I think my parents offered that he could just stay with us. So, you're a high school senior and getting ready to sign the next morning with Iowa, and you got Dan Gable and his wife that want to stay at your house. So that was pretty cool for a kid, an Iowa kid. And then to make it even better is that my mother offered my bed, so I got Coach Gable and his wife sleeping in my bed. So I thought that was really cool too. And then the next morning I got up and signed my national letter of intent to go to Iowa, and obviously it was a good experience for me, and got a chance to be on 5 NCAA championship teams. So, and then like I said a couple weeks after the last daughter, so that seemed to get a very hearty round of laughs or applause when I told that story. Coach Gable was there when I got a chance to see him a couple weeks ago. So I'm not exactly sure of the timeline, if it was exactly 9 months, but hey, the story sounds good. So
Right.
the chance to get to have some fun with Coach Gable, and he's obviously somebody that I still communicate with, and but it is pretty cool to have Dan Gable stay overnight at your house and sleep in your bed. It's kind of like the Three Bears,
Yeah, for sure. Well, of course,
that's my recruiting story from 1981.
Well, and of course, Dan wrestled at Iowa State University, was a 2-time NCAA champion there. How do you get him engaged in the program at Iowa State?
Actually, he just was in the area, so he stopped by, and he was in the area and doing some stuff at Des Moines, and so he just stopped by, and I'm sure being a former Iowa guy, he stopped by and congratulated me, and so it doesn't matter where Dan Gable goes, whether it's Cedar Falls or Ames or Iowa City, he's still Dan Gable there. So I don't think there's a certain color T-shirt he has to wear. I think he can just wear what he wants to wear.
We are on the mat with Kevin Dresser. He's the new head wrestling coach at Iowa State University. I'm really interested in how all of this transpired. It's my understanding that they courted you, that you didn't necessarily apply for anything, that they came out and they wanted you. Take us through the timeline on how this all came about, that you're now the Iowa State head wrestling coach.
Well, it was obviously a very fast process, and I got a phone call when the job opened up, so that's how it started. Is I think Jamie Pollard was right in that they were pretty focused, I guess, on me and me alone at that time, and so they reached out to me and communicated with Virginia Tech, and so the athletic directors were talking, and we had a call set up and with some people that were on a committee. And then the call went real fast from, a call to the following day, hey, can we come see you? So Mr. Pollard and Chris Jorgensen, the sport AD and the football coach of all things from Iowa State, Coach Campbell, flew to Virginia and met my family and met I. And so that's kind of how our relationship started. And, I've said before that the timing of it wasn't very good at all, but I understood the situation they were in, and I don't think opportunity ever has a pattern in life, and I think that's the lesson that I learned, and I've learned before, is that opportunity isn't always calculated and predictable and controllable sometimes. So that's kind of how it went and how it started. And obviously things progressed pretty fast from there, and here I am.
Was there ever a decision for you? Was it hard to make the decision to go to Iowa State, or did you kind of know I'm really going to end up here?
Oh, no, it was hard. It was a hard decision. I've got 3 kids in high school. My wife's from, the Blacksburg area her whole life. So that was the thing that I really had to get. I mean, I was growing up, by Iowa State. I grew up closer to Iowa State than I did Iowa. I knew the bigness of the job and just how important wrestling was in the state of Iowa and at Iowa State. But I still had to get my family on my side. And it had to be, family decision first. And so that's what ultimately, we spent a week and a half thinking about it and talking about it after they came out and visited. I think they came on a Thursday, and I took the job on the following Sunday. So that's a 10-day period. Things went pretty fast, but the discussions were a lot with my family. And so, it was obviously an unusual situation, but here we are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people want to kind of know, how does it feel to kind of be in this transition period? This is really kind of unprecedented for wrestling, where they make a hire and you're not the head wrestling coach yet, but they've got you at Iowa State. You've got a couple weeks to go till you actually take over the program. Is it strange to be in this situation?
Well, I can assure you this. I never planned on being in St. Louis and being a fan this year. But I am. I'm going to be a fan and do a little work on Saturday night. But I'm going to be a fan and not a coach. And so obviously I got a lot of guys that I've spent a lot of time with and love at Virginia Tech that I'll be cheering for, and then I'll be evaluating a lot. We've got one underclassman, Marcus Harrington, from Iowa State competing. So I'll be watching him a little bit too, of course, and just being a fan. But it's a different role. There's no question that this wasn't a normal situation.
We are on the mat with new Iowa State head wrestling coach Kevin Dresser. He was at Virginia Tech, and now he will take over the reins for Cyclone Nation. And, of course, we're curious. We want to know what that assistant coaching staff is going to look like. Do you have any leads you can give us on who that might be?
No. That's for a square answer. No,
okay.
Not at this time, no. Not at this time. When the NCAAs get over, then I'll have a better feel for I've got some, obviously I'm talking to some people right now, and but just about everybody that I'm talking, well, I think everybody that I am talking to right now is currently coaching, and so I don't want to disrupt any of their things that they've got going on. And this was a very untraditional hire, and so I'm going to try to be a much more traditional, and wait till everybody's seasons are over, and then start communicating and letting people know in the hierarchy who I'm looking at, and communicating with their superiors and doing it that way.
How much communication have you had with Cyclone Wrestling fans? Because you said that in the press conference that was important to unite all of the fans. How much interaction have you had with those fans?
Well, the social that we had the day of the press conference, we had quite a crowd show up for that. We had it at a meeting place in Ankeny, Iowa, and then I sent out a newsletter, I think 2 days ago, maybe yesterday morning it went out officially. I worked on it this weekend, and I've had a tremendous response from that. And we've got a meeting set up later this month with the Cyclone Wrestling Club. So the outpouring has been great. I just, the amount of emails and messages and actual old school mails, cards and notes have been obviously supportive, and I think there's a buzz right now, and that's the fun part. But the reality is we got a lot of work to do.
What's priority number one?
Well, priority number one is obviously getting a staff in place. We're in the process right now of actually doing the paperwork to get the regional training center in place. That'll be up and running. We're actually going to have our first regional training center workout on March 30th. So those are priorities. Getting in front of the fan base, I'm having a team dinner tomorrow night in town or on campus with the team, and so probably not just one priority. We need to take care of the team. We need to take care of the wrestling. We need to take care of the fan base. So we got a lot of things going. Probably nothing different than I did at Virginia Tech. Just probably we need to probably got a lot more ground to cover in a shorter period of time right now.
You know the Iowa landscape as well as anyone. Is it going to be harder to come into an Iowa State program where there's the big brother, there's Iowa that commands a lot of fans and a lot of respect in the state, and trying to recruit against that in the state of Iowa? Is that going to be a challenge?
Oh, absolutely, and that's what excites me. That's why I took this job. I took this job because it was an incredible challenge. It was an incredible. I mean, it's to get Iowa State back to where they want to be is a lot. It's going to take a lot of things. A lot of things got to happen, and there's going to be pressure, and that's why I took the job. That's what I enjoy doing, and taking Virginia Tech from 81st in the nation to 5 years in a row in the top 10 wasn't easy either. So luckily I've been down this road a little bit, but I understand the magnitude of being in Iowa, and you got a guy like Doug Schwab, who I respect the heck out of too. You got three really good options now for kids in the state of Iowa.
We are on the mat with Kyven Dresser, new head wrestling coach at Iowa State University. You get a chance to have Iowa on the schedule. I know at Virginia Tech you wanted that to transpire, and you didn't get it. Now you have that opportunity. How do you beat Iowa?
Well, we got to get the right guys in here. That's the first thing. We got to get the right guys, and I think we've got some of those right guys in the room at Iowa State, and then we've got to develop. We have to understand what we're in for, and that's a daily process. That's not a watching them on video one time and going to practice and saying you want to beat Iowa. You got to come in and put the time in, and obviously there's a lot of other good people out there besides Iowa, but being Iowa State, that's the benchmark. Like I said in the press conferences, is when you get to the point of competing toe-to-toe with the Iowas and the Oklahoma States and the Penn States of the world, you really, you've etched yourself in a pretty good place. And so that's what we've got to do, is we've got to, we got to get to the point where we got to compete with them. And that's just good old-fashioned rolling up your sleeves and going to work and working the right way, too. And so that's what we got to get started here, at the end of this month.
How much would it hurt if Brad Penrith came down to practice and he rode you? I mean, would you lose all credibility to your team if he did that?
I would lose all credibility if Brad Penrith rode me, but Brad knows that he's never ridden me his whole life for more than 10 seconds, and he's also smaller than me, so that's going to be his excuse. But Brad's a great guy. It was great when we came on Wrestled You and I got to go out to dinner that night with Brad, and so I love Brad and always have. And we'll see I think we can get him to be wearing. I think we're going to get him to be wearing some Cardinal and gold. I think I got him just about on board with Cardinal and gold right now.
That's good. We're going to make sure to get a picture of that because he's local here, so we'll get that. Now you're living in Ames right now. You're talking to us from Ames, correct?
I'm in Ames working. Yep, I'm actually staying. My brother lives in Ankeny, Dan, so I'm staying at Dan's place during this transition. So
okay.
I've got free rent. I just got to buy groceries every now and then. And so my family, we're going to transition out here over the summer. And my kids are finishing up school, just like Iowa schedule into May, they're finishing up. So I'm back and forth a little bit right now. I got a son and a daughter playing soccer, and so I'll be back watching a little bit of soccer. And then I've got a daughter graduating on May 20th, so that's my schedule. I'll be back and forth a little bit for a while.
All right. Congratulations on the job. We're hoping to see you up here in Cedar Falls or in Waterloo at the Gable Museum. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us about the new job. We'll be following you very close.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Kyven Dresser, new head wrestling coach at Iowa State University. Unique role. Never seen anything like this in wrestling where there's a hire before the end of the season, and I think Kyven Dresser is going to do a fantastic job.
I wonder if he's aware of Fight Night.
Well, he's going to find out soon.
Okay.
We got to end this show. For Doug Van Gelder, I'm Kyle Klingman. You've been listening to On the Mat.
You've been listening to On the Mat, the Cedar Valley's longest-running radio show devoted entirely to wrestling. Brought to you by Rolling Ford and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum on 1650 The Fan.
This
show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.